Welcome to Season 2 of the Digital Transformationists podcast, where we get curious together about what technology is teaching us about human ingenuity, resilience, and the mysterious force that magnetizes us towards connection with one another. Join our host, Christian Lane, founding partner of Precipio Consulting, co-host G-Love, Grammy-nominated artist, and our incredible guests as we embark on a journey to better understand technology's role in amplifying connection between us all. We'll hear from technologists, practitioners, revolutionaries, innovators, environmentalists, artists, and more, all sharing their experiences with technology and how it's affected their lives and industries. We're excited to kick off this new chapter with an amazing guest, filmmaker Emmett Malloy, half of the groundbreaking creative team, the Malloy Brothers. Emmett and his brother Brendan are responsible for some of the most iconic music videos with some of the best and biggest brands in the world. Emmett's unique talents and vision have led him to work on the cutting edge of advertising, creating sublime campaigns with the most important global brands. His latest work is the incredible documentary, Biggie, I Got a Story to Tell, based on original recordings and interviews with family and friends of the legendary rapper the Notorious B.I.G, and is available worldwide on Netflix. In this episode, we connect with Emmett on the artistic process in the age of digital transformation, managing creative teams, working with family, and find out who's best to work with, actors or athletes.
Hey Garrett, good morning. Good to see you again.
Hey Christian, good to see you, man.
Yeah, dude. Season 2.
It's been a minute. Season 2, kicking off. A big one today.
Indeed. Well, and I gotta say, I'm so excited to actually meet and interview Emmett Malloy. Like, geez, that's so awesome.
Yeah, and I'm excited to meet and talk to somebody that actually know him and know something about what he does.
Well, just to kind of bring folks up to speed, right? Like this podcast is a lot about, the digitization of work. And what we're trying to do is catch up with folks in various industries and spaces and learn about, what they do, how they do it, some of the process side of things, but also how they leverage technology. And, to that end, I'm curious, and gee, this is something you haven't spoken with, surprisingly, but there's a process to everything, right? There's steps that you go through to bring value and add some amount of value to a consumer, whether it's a product or a service or what it might be, whatever it might be. And through that process, there's things that are inherently good for a person in terms of like how they want to do something. But then there's also ultimately just, the goal of getting quality out. What's your process like when you write? What are the 5 steps you go through or something?
Ooh, it's I think the first step is kind of capturing pure inspiration. So just keeping your ears open for, words, sounds, melodies, and just always having the ability to jot them down and record them. So I'll record a hook or I'll record something you or Emmett could have said, and then I'll put that in my phone and have that as in like a vault of ideas.
All right, so that's the first digitization step, is just that quick recording of it.
That's right. And then the second step is kind of making the time to sit down to actually go through those ideas and kind of mine through the ideas, and then take the ones that actually are good and then kind of explore them and expand on them. And then again, it's just letting it flow, letting it all out. That'd be the second step. And then the third step would be kind of honing in on it. If you do have a good idea, taking the time to really edit, self-edit, and keep on working the song, kind of grooming the song over and over again.
Iterating over and over again, yeah.
Yeah. And then you kind of chop the fat. And then the next step would be to get it to performance level. So just practicing over and over again. And the final step would be that if everything is, all that work, you take it to the studio, you take it to your record label and your management, and then they tell you, well, this is either going on the record or not.
and that becomes this like massive set of processes, right? I mean, that's once you get on a record, then it's all about how you get the record out and how you promote it. And wow, fascinating.
Yeah, so that's kind of and actually it's funny, Emmett's listening in, but he's helped me through that process, about 1,000,000 times, and it's been
Oh,
a wonderful
shoot.
part of our relationship.
Well, very cool. Let's bring Emmett in. As y'all know, Emmett has recorded and put together amazing music videos for so many of our favorites, ads, some feature-length documentary, a great movie, a great film. Let's bring Emmett in.
Come on in,
hey
Emmett.
guys. Hey guys.
Howdy. Good morning.
Hey, Em.
I love how Garrett still, makes me think like I really helped that much on his records, when actually he does all the artistic stuff. And for once, I just get to sit and be more of a cheerleader, It's
Well,
nice.
yeah. I mean, honestly, just it's not true, because you really do. You've helped me immensely through so many creative processes.
Yeah.
Even sometimes as just a positive reinforcement. Because that's one of the things I've always enjoyed working with Emmett. Because he's my record boss, but Brushfire Records, the record label that Emmett started with Jack Johnson and Josh Nicotra, was basically all formed by creatives, right? So that was a wonderful situation for me to get guidance from someone that is a creative person,
Yeah.
Very
and
cool.
a
Thanks,
director.
Garrett. Yeah. Side gig.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's good to be on here, guys. I mean, I
It's good to meet
certainly,
you.
whatever. Let's walk through it. I'm curious where you guys want to begin.
I was going to say, I'm curious about your process. You and your brother collaborate a lot. You got your own, venture in terms of your production house, I guess is a way of putting it. Talk us through your process, how you collaborate with your brother. Are there any technologies that you're using that help you? And then from there, we can kind of dive into some other aspects of production.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, my brother and I have been working together this whole run on planet Earth, from, we've always been a bit of a package deal. So we have our own, kind of, I guess just by this point, just human nature way of operating with one another. And we have this beautiful relationship that you get through the course of time with somebody that you're with and you'll always be with, that we kind of we can flex it any way we want. There's certain jobs where we truly need each other, and some commercials or real busy music videos, you're real lucky to have two directors and you're really using every bit of both of them. And others, you kind of feel like, this one's a good one for me. This one hits more my sensibilities because, although we're partners and I think we have great instincts to know what each other would want and always appreciate another mind in the mix, we're real different. If you hung out with us, you'd be like, wow, you guys are real different. Even those who work with us, always kind of, oh, you sound alike, but you don't act much alike, and that's part of the joy of it, is that there are those differences. So there's more ideas and more instincts to, kind of have in the mix. And there's also just times where you can, as brothers, be free. We have a partnership that's not bound to anything, just we're truly locked in. So we get to kind of, define it all along the way we want. And, me being the older brother, you know how that goes,
Oh, yeah.
I always got the front seat, even when I didn't call him first. But he knows
so
that too. So he's like, I don't want his bossy ass on this job. I'm gonna block him out. So we have a real open thing, but it's such a tough business, in the sense of to keep your morale right and to always feel, because it's so darn competitive. It's just nice to have a brother there to always make it feel like more of a family thing, and it keeps us real grounded in a pretty I'd call it just a pretty competitive and hard business at times.
Yeah. I can relate. My brothers and I have been in business together for quite a while.
Yeah.
And we've done really well at it. And to your point, like I can't imagine not being in business with my brothers, actually, because to large extent, we're writing our own rules as best we can, you know?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. And I think I've kept that across by working with the best friend. And Garrett, again, I think our friendship was in place long before the work, you know, and somehow, and Jack will attest to the same thing, and Garrett really the same thing as well. We've kind of always done that. And that is very unique and something that people always comment on. Oh man, I feel it. I'm like, yeah, because it is. We're like, we're families, and my mom's doing the catering, you know? Nice. So we've done it, but you know, the cool thing is I think we've done it at the highest of levels. And that's what I like, is that we can front this. We just, you know, we're just cruising, but we get after it. And we you know, we want to be there, you know, we want to be there creatively, and we want to be there, especially as I work in commercials that are driven by the modern, you know, whatever's happening at the moment, from the products themselves, and also just how you're going to capture them. You know, you have clients and agencies that are depending on you to hit this cross-platform thing where we can entertain on every device. And so you have to be thinking of that. And even as I get a bit older, if you're not staying current on those things, you're not winning. And I just did a film with Netflix, and again, always creative first, but analytics was the name of the game. When I was making that. And I felt that through the last, you know, few years, is just like, you know, as much as I like to sit there and preach, we're going to shoot it on film and get all analog, like that only goes so far, you know. I had to have a well-rounded game in both areas of my work, and progress with them all along the way, while keeping this antique spirit.
Right. So to produce a commercial right now, or even a video, or whatever it might be, like you're having to think about many different types of media devices that you're going to actually publish through, right? Do you have like some like long running checklist of like, make sure that this particular composition will work these 3 ways, or this composition will work for these other things? Like, how do you keep all that in your head, or into a team dynamic?
You sniff it according to like who you're working with, you know, you feel it right as we're coming out of the gates, you know, like if you're some jobs, you're really talking about all creative language, and you feel like, wow, okay, man, this guy's, you know, we're kindred spirits here, and we're talking about anamorphic lenses and film, and he's really wanting to know things about your own experience of the past, something I did that he's really hooked in on, and he's wondering how, and I'm like, oh, that one's all on film, and you're seeing it light up. And then other ones, you're feeling this campaign where right when you sign on, you are, you know, going to be doing this elaborate campaign that is, you know, just as concerned about people watching it on their phone as they are in a movie theater. And so you have to somehow protect for all of that. And those are really hard. And it's hard too, because sometimes people get lose sight, and they often focus on the one thing that maybe people will be most casual with, or possibly just only for ABC or something, because ESPN is also with ABC, and we got to make sure that it can play on the phone. And so suddenly you're protecting for like this frame that basically is like, you know, the vertical watch on your phone. So it's just like a square, you know? So suddenly you're protecting for this, and you're like, guys, we are prioritizing this wrong, you know? I'd rather just say, let's just make sure we can squeak by on that and keep our priority on, like, you know, the film, the thing we've been talking about.
Otherwise it's too limiting, I suppose.
It's too limiting, and nobody, you're literally looking at like a portrait, you know. If you're on a wide shot, you're like, literally, we're down to like the 2 actors, and I don't want to phone it in like that. I want to make sure the frame's great and treat it like that, because then you can narrow in. But the thing is, they sometimes they get lost in the like, I think to me, it's an overplay on the digital stuff where you're like, man, that's, we were doing a lot to make everything look good. So can we get back there, and then we'll find a way. I'll make sure we're thinking, and, just sometimes they can't go there, and you get stuck in this, kind of narrow tunnel. And again, as a commercial director, you're a bit of a hired gun.
Right.
And
you gotta trust them. Right.
Yeah, you're like the quarterback that just got to lead everybody down the field. And if the pass and your electric plays aren't working, you just start handing the ball up the gut. You make that work. You're like, well, okay, that's that. We're gonna just kind of slug it out here, and because if you fight it, it's hopeless. You just can't. You're not there. Some you fight. The art. If I'm on a big Nike ad and we're feeling, you're doing more of a film, you're fighting back, and everybody likes it. They're like, yeah, I like directors that, are like that. That's the directors I grew up like, and the ones that just were outrageous. And you're like, oh my God, it's crazy. But maybe I could figure out my own style of that. And, ultimately you just got to figure out what character everybody wants. But you got to be aware of this digital era. I mean, I just to give you guys I kind of came up in a cool era, and Garrett, you too, where we were transitioning from analog to digital, so as an editor, I was an editor. I began I feel like it was under a year that I was doing tape to tape stuff.
Wow.
It was real crazy and laborious. And then the Avid came in, and that's right when I met you, Garrett, when we had that house in Venice. I bought an Avid that was like the price of a house. Wow. I had to lease it and everything, but that was real lucky timing, because I got to come up, and I learned that technology and was able to just leapfrog all the old school editors right out of the gates.
Is there any benefit to going, or do you ever go back to the tape, actually making cuts on the tape?
Yeah, shoot, I don't think so, Garrett. I think I definitely get it on shooting film and some of those disciplines, like the in-camera thing, much like cutting a record to tape, just the commitment to that. But the editing world, I couldn't ever think of one perk of doing it tape to tape, because you don't have to, in the studio. There's, I guess even still probably right now, right? You cut it to tape and then throw it all on a computer and then maybe
for sure
go back to it. But there is no advantages. I mean, it's been wiped out completely.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. It's just kind of 90s into the rest of your life.
Generation X saw it happen, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Come on. So when I know you're a huge sports fan, and you're a heck of a basketball player. What's it been like to work on these huge projects? And is there? I mean, obviously, you hang out with a lot of famous people and work with a lot of famous people. Who's gotten you starstruck? Is it the athletes? I
don't know. I think I've hit athletes and musicians, been starstruck, heavily by both. I think that for me, athlete wise, I was definitely most excited to meet Kevin Durant. I think when I got to meet him, it just felt like somebody that, our circles weren't passing, and he was just a young star, really, that I was just so enamored to meet. And just, I agreed. Hook 'em horns. We got to shoot him in Texas, in his Texas shirt. That's how early we caught him. So that one I was fascinated by it. I never got to kind of work with the guy a lot, as he was really came into the league as the guy and then grew. That was real exciting and just kind of interesting to me. to meet someone like that. Certainly LeBron, same way. Meeting him was quite different. When I met KD, it was like we were just hanging out. It was just him and a few buddies, and they reminded me of like my nephews, you know, just way different in physical stature, but they had like backpacks on and like, you know, like extra medium shirts, and they were like eating Reese's Pieces, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Can't do that anymore.
When I met LeBron, it was kind of like meeting Obama. It was very much like I had to get debriefed, and then I went in there. But I will say maybe the most nerve-wracking moment I've ever had of that was I had that long road to meet LeBron. I did the commercial where he came back to Cleveland, where the whole city of Cleveland, it was a black and white one.
I want to ask about that.
Got together, and I really truly had the whole city of Cleveland, you know, on that. But meeting that one, just cool story about that, and then I'll take your questions.
Yeah.
They, you know, I shot all the fan stuff the week before, so I was there for 5 days just shooting, and I was like, wow, this is gonna be so good. I cannot believe this. And I started to just think I didn't even need LeBron. Like, I was like, this is so good.
Wow.
I don't even need it. So I just lost the LeBron thing altogether in my mind, and was making this thing that was so easy, a passionate fan, you know, related community thing with this emotional storyline. And then LeBron shows up the next week, and I got debriefed so crazy where everyone was so nervous, you know, all the Nike people, the White and Kennedy people, the LeBron camp, they were all there. It was an intense vibe, but I had already shot like this, what felt like an award-winning commercial with nobody but these people. So I finally got in there, and LeBron had just put on his first day with the Cleveland jerseys, and they were all, these are, you know, they were like tripping out on the jerseys. And it was real exciting. And then I played him this 6-minute film that I worked all week editing. I had just such a great editor, a guy who works with David Fincher all the time. And I got to show him that. And I had to, you know, that was insane to sit there and watch it, and have him like hitting Kyrie like, oh, you checking this out? Like, oh my God. I just felt like, you know, when I walked in, I was like, how am I going to get there? And then I showed him this, and we were there, and then he went out and just, I had no issues getting great emotions out of him, because he knew what he had to get into.
Cool.
So for the listener, do a quick search on Google, Nike Together Malloy. Watch the video. It's phenomenal. I mean, you guys pulled together like thousands of people into this video. Yeah,
correct. That was you know, the city was so excited for it, you know, like, you know, kind of began as this one where I had all these, I mean, I shot so much stuff on that. I shot mechanics, you know, like I really went into their world. And in the end, because I was worried the huddle thing would maybe get a little corny. You know, I was feeling like, man, is this going to feel corny? Like, so I was out shooting like a whole nother city of Cleveland spot with like getting into these amazing worlds and having people there. And then they would walk out because I was paranoid of it. And then when I got the crowds together and we started, and I had a megaphone, and I was like, literally, like, I'd be like, could we shut down this bridge? They're all, boom. And I was like, and then I would just go out there with the megaphone, and this is something where you can say, hey, you know, I'm good at getting people behind me, getting them excited. As Garrett said, I get excited myself. So when I'm feeling it, you know, I'm out there with the megaphone, hyping everybody up and getting them psyched. And then all of a sudden they just took over. And then I was like, wow, the spot just transformed, and I was just all of a sudden just riding that energy the whole day, and they got it. They were like, oh yeah, like we're really we're really coming together, and we're gonna win it this year. And it got real crazy. People were crying.
Oh my God.
And it just got real authentic. And then once I light that up, that's all I try to do. I either get access or a hot moment, and then things are awesome. Or you don't, and then you got to muscle through it and just make something,
it work.
Make something pretty good, you know, that everybody's like, yeah, that was cool, but it's not the memorable ones. You only got a handful of memorable ones, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. It's wow. That's really interesting to hear you say that, because it's I mean, it's in a way, in a sense, you're directing, but you're performing. It's like it's almost like it's like a show, right? It's like you have like a euphoric, like if when it's like hitting like that, it's almost like a euphoric moment, huh?
Yeah, that is, I think, you know, more than say where we might differ, Garrett, for sure, because I'm notice I'm not, you know, I think what it is performance, because you are performing with them, you know, like I got to show them I'm as into it as they are.
Yeah, you gotta bring
but
the
it's
energy.
all, it just feeds off of one another, you know.
Right.
All I need to know is that like I got something hot is happening and I'm like so into it, you know.
Wow.
And when it's not, you just unfortunately you just have to sit back and operate at a different, like, it's like a different discipline. You're like kind of more thinking for them. You're like, well, shit, man, this isn't working. So you're already got like, what do I do to get something better here? And you're suddenly you go into this real complex place where you're like thinking like an editor. You're like, well, okay, how am I going to get enough to get by here? And they're like, those are the two lanes that I travel down, like, you know, really getting to be a fly on the wall or really having to be aggressive with leadership.
Right. Wow.
So on the editing side, maybe we get a little more specific on some of this. Because I'm curious, you've got, well, in general, you have the production of a music video or commercial kind of short length format versus a full length feature like the Biggie story and Tribes of Palos Verdes. But that's like a ton of content. How do you manage and organize? Do you like have like a labeling system? Like how do you actually track all that and pull it all together?
Well, you know, I'm old school, so it's just in my head, you know, like if we shoot it, I know it and I'm super aware of it. And as an editor, I'm always able to call back. And, you know, one thing, and Garrett, I'm sure you can attest, when you can communicate well to your engineer and they feel they know, they got a good shorthand with you, you get a lot of good back and forth and you're in a great place, and the camaraderie and the work relationship is real solid. You know, nowadays I have multiple projects going on at once. You know, I just lean on good teams. You know, I lean on great assistant editors who I often have the best relationship with through the whole course of a film. The person who's gonna, you know, kind of always be there to make sure that everything's in play when I show up. And so we can get real effective. You know, my time is limited. I've got a family. I've got so much, you know, just life. I want to surf more than ever now. And those things, when I get in there, I want to, for an hour, really get after it. And, you know, the Tribes one, you know, being a low budget film, shooting in 20 days.
20 days. Wow.
I only had so much. You know, like that, I just wish I had more. The whole time I was like, man, I wish I had just more. I wish I got a real process on that one. You know, I did. I look back on that film and I'm very impressed by what we pulled off. I'd never made something so emotional that wasn't like a real thing, you know?
Right.
And so for me, that was like, as a director, you're just looking for ways to make you feel like you've progressed, that you've got another like weapon in your shed, and you can sit maybe at a different table, you know. And as a director, you constantly get labeled, oh, you're more that guy, or you're that guy, and you're not, man, I done.
You don't get pigeonholed. Come on, man. You got more. I'm more than that.
Hard here. Yeah, but on Biggie, it was overwhelming. You know,
so much content.
The 4 years, insane, and so many places where we hit walls, you know, where we just had to pivot completely. Like, oh, that guy said we can't use this footage anymore. What?
What's the backup? How do you?
You know, and so you have to like kind of start over in a way, you know, because you're redefining. That was kind of like maybe a real pillar, and suddenly that pillar's gone. So you have to restructure the house. So that one was crazy. Went through 2 editors, like, you know, just through the span of the time. I like used a guy to the max, and then he had to move on to another project, and
over.
then kind of went a full journey with another editor.
Wow.
And we got to utilize both editors' work, but the length of time was like a double film for anything that I had done to date. That was a double down.
Let me ask you this: given that I got a story to tell, it's a story. Did going through a chronological kind of approach help or create other challenges?
Yeah, like I think what was tough in that one is just, the whole first 20 years of his life, there isn't any footage. I had a handful of photos by that point, So it's more like that. Once I got over that feeling and I went to Jamaica and I shot okay, I got something different. I don't even know what I had.
That. Yep.
I kind of felt I had somewhere to go with that film. Because you just pitch these things, I'm in Netflix and you're just selling this brochure, and I haven't built the resort yet, so I'm like
vision and credibility.
This thing, and you have so much passion, and you're leaning on these phone calls with his mom and all these things that I think are good ideas, and I've sold them now to the biggest studio in the world.
Nice.
They thought they were good ideas. And then you sit down and you're like, whoa, man, I what am I putting on screen? What am I going to put on screen? And then that moment of panic hits, and then that's usually where you begin, and that's kind of where that film began. But the crazy part was just when I began in Jamaica, it felt so like, wow, I was just spraying down good footage, everywhere. Everything I did just felt really good. And the interview with the mom, and then I got his grandmother and uncle. And then, it's like coming out off the bench hot. You drain, but your first three, you're like, but then it's hard, then they start playing defense, and you're suddenly, geez, what am I going to do now? And that's where that film got real hard to me is after that, I got into the realities of his crew friends and just the 25 years of them being burned left and right by this filmmaker, that filmmaker, and then I had to begin this long emotional journey to get the trust of everybody in his tight circle. And that had several lows but it just got to the highs that I needed. In the end, they were like, yo, you're the guy. It just took us a minute to really admit that.
Yeah. It's those projects that when you look back on and say, I could have quit 1,000 times. It's those projects that you work through that are always the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Despite the adversity.
No doubt.
So that was a 4-year project. I mean, was it? I mean, I imagine there's a lot of times it's hard to stay engaged in it, or just be like, I mean, that's a long time to.
Oh yeah, it was really hard. I mean, it was weird. Sometimes I would roll into our old office, Garrett, because we did a lot of it there, and I would just be like, fuck that film. Yeah, I'd hear some soundbite again, just like, I would just be like, because you start to feel like you're just forcing it, like, am I really gonna is this one even gonna come out? Like it starts to get to that dark place where you're like, and then you just get like, you just get after the 5th time of like having it smashed down and building it back up,
right,
and then it smashes again, you're like, this is a joke, right? Like how am I supposed to then, because you swear off things. You're like, hey, seriously, if this next thing, like you feel so proud, like, yo, I built it back. I see you guys all said I couldn't. I did it. You kick your feet up and your own feet smash it again. And you're like, well, here I go again. Watch me. And then I'm having to keep Netflix, who we were, I'm an easygoing guy. So I'm always the one, the studio's like, yo, just do your thing. Right. I'm on budget. I'm real responsible. I've had to run a label that, beyond our big guy, we slug it out, and we have to be smart and do things and make every dollar count. I'm telling them the whole time, like, oh yeah, it's no worries, no worries. Oh yeah, I didn't even like that footage that much. I found this other stuff, and really all along I was just working his best friend D-Rock
Okay.
to become, a guy he believed in, and once I got there after the 5 collapses, it was the way it was meant to be, in the end. That's all it was doing. These were all just me building temporary things because I wasn't allowed to build the main thing yet. So I just tried to see if I could get away with it. And in the end, he really started to appreciate what I was making, and it started to really make him go, that's what I've been waiting for. That's the story everybody kind of says they would make, and nobody ever went through with it. And now you did it, and here you go, and let's do my interview.
It was such an emotional piece. Like, I was just talking about the other day or something, because, I was never like a huge Biggie fan, and as a matter of fact, like, of course, like, I love the songs that they play at the club and I dance to it a million times, but, and I know some of the verses, but it wasn't like my go-to rap thing. And it was, but man, like to watch the documentary and what you're able to, to portray it in his life and just how tragic it was. And I had no idea that he would die when he was 24. I mean, I couldn't believe it, so, I mean, I don't know. You just really brought me in, and I felt like you just told this story, and it after that, man, I was spinning, all the bad boy shit. Man.
Well, that's what they kept saying to me all along. They wanted me to make. They wanted me to make this legacy piece, and they wanted it to be by like fans talking about it all over the world. And I'm like, man, the best thing I can do is just make people really want to get back into his music and feel it. And I just felt like my own journey was, I was just like you, Garrett, same place with his music, and only really knew I only knew the Notorious, couple, mainly that interview before the Mo Money video where he's like all laid back. And I mean, I thought that's how he was all the time. So I watched this interview the day before he died, at the beginning of this process, and it's featured a lot in the film. And it was in San Francisco at a radio station. And man, he was just so sweet and articulate. And it was just amazing to watch, where it just blew my mind. Like, whoa, I was totally off. This guy seems so much different than I was presented. And that's kind of where it all began. And I realized that I was probably like most people who are going to watch the film. And it's trippy when an artist that's so seminal, nobody's really ever known them. And that's kind of something that we scored on, that ended up being, people were wanted that information on him, wanted to love him that way. And this film gave him that. And it's been the coolest part is getting like Instagram, comments from like Premiere saying like, yo, this film, just really? Like,
no way.
My God, Gary, you would love it. Like all across the board, every mega, kind of star and seminal figure from that era has really hit me either personally or somebody in the group to say, yo, like, first, you just did our boys so right. And secondly, like, thank you for all of hip hop, you know, to kind of catch this. It just did it. You guys did it just right. And that's been the coolest thing,
Actually, I remember that one part in the film where when they were capturing their footage, they were like, it was always about capturing the crowd. Reaction. I thought that was a cool moment.
No doubt.
Yeah, but
you can attest. I mean, Garrett, that's kind of your era. It's funny when I go back to these things, all of a sudden it felt like I was doing this like history thing. But again, he's my age. I mean, we were literally born 1 month apart.
Wow.
We both are Geminis. We both have a lazy eye. It's funny stuff when I think about it. It has nothing to do with anything, but it just made me feel a connection. And
Wow.
you know, again, these are all things like when you think about his age, think about how young you were, Garrett, and to that you know your first album is seminal in that same way. It really brings you back to a time and place, and that was all he really was able to pop off. I mean, imagine that, your first record, record your second one, and that's it. You'd be real young. You know, that's
it's crazy because the body of work that he did in that short time, and like just
so much.
the quality of everything.
Crazy.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah, it's cool to see that I mean, it did really well for Netflix. You know, what's cool is they you know, maybe it's when you got a movie that did well for them, but they've been, you know, kind of doing calls and giving me some recaps, and it was a huge success for them. And you know, we made it up to number 2. I got rumor of number 1 on their thing. And you know, for a music film about something so specific, you know, that's cool because it means it hit at another level. And it's fun to share those analytics. I mean, they were sharing me stuff that would have meant we would have done like, you know, 200 million at the box office when they start going, and you're like, that is insane. And I know it's not apples to apples, but it's cool to see the analytics and to be able, because again, Tribes I put out in a very dated system with an independent film company that was just like, yo, see it in the 2 theaters and we'll get our money back $14 at a time, you know? And then to go flip and do it for this, you know, kind of way in which people can just watch it anywhere. It just felt so cool to me to be like, just check it out on Netflix. You know, I was like, that was so much better. And it just, you know, made me realize when that's clicking, it's about the coolest thing. You know, you can fight it all you want, but man, putting a movie out and to see it connect the way mine got to through Netflix was insane. And then just the data they can share with you is just real fun. It's real fun. It's like a little bit when things are good, you know, it's a bit of a celebration of your hard work. And and so it's nice you'll get all nerdy with it. Yeah, let me hear more of those analytics.
Okay. So like what'd you do to celebrate the premiere?
Oh yeah, it was real high class. I mean, you know, we had nothing. That's been you know, my premiere was like this, you know. I mean, I got to do great interviews with people truly excited to talk about the movie, and you know, I was really putting out the film was this. It was just doing these interviews on Zoom. I didn't do one thing in person, so that was kind of trippy because I feel like they would have bought like the Barclays Center for a night, and we would have had probably the best premiere ever.
Sure.
But you know, instead it was this, and I think I went and played golf with my kids, you know, at night, and had a beer, and like was just kind of laughing about, you know, my ballin' status.
So I'm curious, Emmett. You know, when we get back into a new world, you going back to the studio? You go back into face-to-face kind of thing, back in the office, so to speak?
I think so. I have an office in Los Angeles, and I definitely have one person in there now, and somebody's starting to edit. I'm kind of archiving all the Jack Johnson and Garrett, some of our earliest stuff, just going back and taking advantage of this time to do that. And that's been cool because we shot almost everything on film, and all our surf films and all that stuff. So I've been getting that prepped in my office, and I'm actually heading to get my second vaccine.
Congrats. It's awesome.
So that's
Game changer.
Yeah.
I'm getting mine tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm already shooting a shit ton, you know. I mean, I shot Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes last week.
No way.
And for this John Madden project. So I'm already in it, and I'm sniffing, you know, like as I stated, this is a fairly unforgiving business, and I got a bit of a hot hand, and I'm out trying to see what kind of collateral I could get in return via a better script. You know, I would just like to get maybe into a heavier weight class, I hope, where I might get at some projects or something that I have that I've been wanting to do for a long time might resonate more now. So I'm hustling currently in a big way.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Take it back
hustle.
take it back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's isn't it? It doesn't, where does it stop? I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't.
Where does the
It's
hustle
weird,
stop?
Garrett.
Because
I
you know, I
know.
mean, like, it's almost like you just hit multi-platinum,
Yeah.
and now you're back on the streets.
I
Like,
know. Well, you know, it's
because you're
funny. Is I
energized.
yeah, well, it's weird, and it goes a lot to what I was saying, and you can feel it in my voice, the highs and lows and of this business. You know, I'll go do a film like that feels like, well, you know, hey man, I'm the guy right here.
Right.
And then I'll go do like pitch on a you know, I'll call it a middle of the road commercial and not get it. And
Wow.
you're like, wait a minute, you know,
Come
so
on.
it just
Who are you talking to?
every time I feel like it's going to come easy, it doesn't.
Wow.
And my path has always been a bit of a grind in a good way. Like I felt like it's been a worthwhile grind, much like yours, but I think it'll just be that way, Garrett. I just think, like, you know, we're just prioritizing a little different. So I care a little less about like, oh shit, I don't, you know, I'm not competitive as much as I used to be, but I'm certainly not looking to make, you know, I hope the Biggie movie's not my best movie. You know,
Right,
I'm
sure.
like, if I'm going to go do a movie and put the time in, I'm going to do it and make it like the next one. I got to even be more excited to do it, because that's the good thing is now I'm kind of like, it's got to be good to get my interest and get that enthusiasm up. And so I'll just hopefully let something drag that out of me. But I bet the grind will never be up for me, because it feels pretty clear, you know, this is my career path, you know, is kind of more like a bit more. And my brother, same way. We're cool to do it. I think people like working with us for that reason, is that we get in the trenches and we really make things with our crews and have fun and feel always that's kind of like the style we are. And yeah, I don't know. I bet you never. I am surfing a lot now, and quite possibly my semi-pro surf career could be heating up here in the 805. And so
it's hard for me to hear that, Christian, because I always kind of fancied that Emmett and I were kind of this similar skill level, but I have a feeling that all the water time he's got, especially
Quite
this past year, has surpassed me.
I think
quite possibly, Garrett. Quite possibly.
You need a lot more water time to get good at surfing, that's for sure. I think surfers are the best athletes in the world.
Yeah, but Garrett's a proper surfer, you know, so we are. I think we're kind of, you know, again, I think we hover in the same class.
Okay.
Just right now, I'm in peak shape, you know. So
he's gonna take all the heat, man.
That's a big difference.
No, but like, you know, yeah, man, you got a beautiful family, and you know, you've been doing well for a lot of years. You know what I mean? And you've worn and continue to wear so many hats. You know, I guess, you know, and yeah. So what are some of the things that drive you? Like, is it to make a legacy? Is it financial? Is it just a love of continuous all these different projects? Like, and you know, like you said, especially with the musical stuff that we've worked on together, aside from Jack, most of it hasn't made any money. It's been a lot of work, like serious labor of love. And sometimes, like, we'd be working on a record, a G-Love record, and I'd be like, why the hell is Emmett, like, even fucking with me? Because, you know, you know, we're going to sell. But yeah, like, so yeah, like, speak to that.
Yeah, it's a deep
Why are
question,
you doing,
you know.
What's the drive? What are the driving factors? You know?
Yeah, that's a heavy one, Garrett. You know, almost makes me like get a little emotional thinking about it, especially with you asking it, because you know me super good for most of my life. I don't know. I bet you it's just a little bit of all of it. You know, like I think my legacy is important. I've always appreciated that, even from the beginning when we kind of did those films with Chris Malloy, my cousin, and Jack. We created the Moonshine Conspiracy, and it felt like we like created something. And I really felt a lot of value in that, you know, like how cool was that to make something that feels like it will last a bit, you know, because when you're doing music videos, they felt like pretty like you just pump them out, you know, and then you start to get some bands that are like, wow, shit, I'm gonna do a White Stripes video, like they do really good videos. I don't want to do the first bad White Stripes video. And that's when I started with the surf movies and everything, started to feel like, oh, wow, people judge you and they give you like, you get reviews and you start to go like, well, man, I gotta make these things good, you know, and I really want to be good at this. And if it's going to be my job, you know, and then that's where the work ethic kicks in. So suddenly you're like, yeah, you're thinking your legacy a little bit. I have those thoughts always on my mind, to be honest, you know, and I, even my last name, like I have, you know, cousins that were real famous, and then your last name starts to take a little prestige and you're like, okay, you know, I gotta also be like, you know, I got to get in the mix in the Malloy lineup, you know, like and so all those things are more just positives. They make you like kind of go and consider the things that you're doing and put some thought into, you know, kind of how you're going to get better and better projects and build your brand, you know. So I think, Garrett, it's a little bit of them all, but like the label, same thing, both aspects. It's like, with Jack right out of the gates, it was more like, okay, how do we keep this our own thing? Like, you know, when he got the success that he did, it was more like, as his manager, you're going to operate way better. And as your friend, with it feeling like it's kind of your family running the thing. It was almost like good management, you know? And again, that goes back to like, that was kind of part legacy, but also just part like family, you know, like let's just protect ourselves, you know. If it's just always Kim, me, you, we'll do great, you know. And then you have that, and then you want to just, then you're like, hey, we got this, you know, kind of label, let's get some friends, some more friends in. And you know, who's the guy we owed it all to really, you know, is Garrett. Like he got us kind of the kick in, and then we get in there, and you know, it's like you know, like the first guy we're gonna bring in is the only dude we know in the music business who's kind of now considered a friend, you know, like. And so, you know, I think all those things are moves to like strengthen family, but they are legacy moves, because you're, you know, we didn't bring you in there as a charity thing. We brought you in there because we were like, man, we got to make a great label. So let's get in, you know, the best musician we know, and let's build our label with the guy we know and the guy that we think has the talent to do so. And so, I don't know, I think in the end, Garrett, like I like to work on a lot of things, and now luckily I found this balancing act where it all gets to kind of feel part of the legacy. And I hope that, you know, now I look at my body of work and be, you know, I'm kind of like, all right, now I do have something, you know, to kind of feel, you know, it feels more satisfying, you know, post the last couple of films and a few things, I feel more satisfied as a director. I felt that way as a record boss a while ago, just because Jack, just his highs were so high that it's tough to ever think you could ever go there again. You know, that was like one of those like, wow, can you believe that? And so that one just felt like, wow, right out of the gates, it was a crazy success. You know, my directing career has been like, I want my legacy to be a little more like the guys I grew up loving, the Spike Joneses, the Michelle Gondrys, the Chris Cunninghams. Those were the directors that really inspired me, and I felt like, you know, they just had more, you know, some better stuff in their lineup, and I had to get at and try to. I'm still working on that, you know, still nipping, and feel like I got, you know, a few more good ones to go, without a doubt.
It's awesome.
Right on, man.
Well, cool. This has been
Yeah, I know I didn't get much digital stuff in, guys. Sorry if we want to ask a few digital specific questions.
It's all in the life of.
No, man, you did. You did.
No, you did great.
I tried to. I talked analytics. I threw in that word.
You did. You had a couple words, man.
That was great.
Yeah,
hey, Gary,
yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really great to hear all that stuff. I mean,
I know. I feel like I got a lot more, Gary, because I feel like we didn't even get into some other things, you know.
Emmett's a humble guy. Look, Emmett's a very humble guy, but he will say this, that do you know that out of Jack, Emmett, and I, who's got the Grammy? Emmett's got the fucking Grammy, man. He's got the Grammy. Hilarious. I got the Grammy nom. Jack didn't even get anything yet, but
I know
it's
he got
so
a nom
funny,
for
man.
like the weirdest.
He did get a nom.
It was like
I didn't know.
He got it for like a Black Eyed Peas record where they sampled "Gone," and then he got another one. He got like for "Sitting, Waiting, Wishing." It was something that year. He got 2 noms, but that's pretty weak for a guy that's got his body of work, you know, meaning that doesn't feel accurate, you know, to me. But, you know, again, Jack, the Grammys, you know, whatever, they appreciate, you know, the people who do a lot for the society and does it. And Jack does a lot for his society and his neighborhood and his, you know, island, but he's just not the guy out doing all the music care events and things that those things are fueled by, you know. That's me defending him.
I mean, actually, I was thinking about the Grammys, because like you know, a lot of people, once you just get your foot in the door, it seems like you're in it, and they're gonna keep calling on you.
Yeah,
and because I was talking to
that, Garrett, you feeling that?
Yeah, I'm feeling it, but I was talking to Luther Dickinson, and he's got, for instance, 9 Grammy nominations.
Agreed. Wow. I mean, Robert Carranza has like 13.
Man, I mean, well, you guys have been the ultimate curators. Like, I mean, you know, just working with you guys for so many years, like everything. It's really interesting because the overall sense is that everything is super laid back and just flowy, which it is. Mm-hmm. And it's very authentic in that way. But there's, you know, everything's very thought out and curated. You know, it's a huge part of your guys' process, I think.
That gets into the legacy thing. I think we've always had kind of a point of view, and from early on we were like our own label, our own studio, and then you got to kind of have a vibe. And you know, our mentors and influences were, you know, kind of the labels that were like that, and the studios that were like that, where you knew what they were, you knew what you were going to get. And early on, for sure, we were real heavy that way, and I think we've loosened up. And as a filmmaker, for sure, you know, I can't be that way unless I'm just going to do a Wes Anderson film. You know, I'm kind of game to do all kinds of films. I like making people laugh, cry. I just realized now my thing is I've realized my number one thing that people seem to react to in my work is just the honesty of it, you know? So what does that mean? That means I could do anything. I could give a go at any type of film, as long as at the core, it kind of had some of those things that maybe allow me to be good at it. Then I'm on my way. And once I got there, it felt real liberating as a director, because then I was not feeling so like, oh, I got to be precious, because I wasn't ever feeling like a precious director. You know, I was feeling always like a good listener and like, oh, okay, cool. That seems good. I like that aspect of it. And I would find a way in, and then I'd have the comfort I needed to do it, regardless of the genre.
Well, and man, you know, we can't thank you enough for your time and your honesty. And
of course,
here's to your legacy, man. And as your brother and friend, man, I'm so proud of you, man.
Oh, same in return, Garrett.
It's great to just hear about you and not you putting it giving it to somebody else like you always do. So this is about you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's fun to talk this way because it makes you feel super proud and appreciative. And for a business that kind of, you got to be there. So I'm happy. My confidence is high right now.
I love it. So all right. Yeah. So just before we wrap, we like to do a couple speed rapid round questions.
Okay. Great.
Cool. Are we good, Christian?
Yeah, do it. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. All right, I'll get started. Punk or hip hop?
Punk.
All right.
Okay. East Coast or West Coast?
I mean, come on, West. I'm hardcore West.
Well, I know where you live, and I have an idea of the answer.
Yeah, but I got a wife from Philly, so
Jersey Shore, baby.
There you
that
go.
gives me a real open lane.
Northern or Southern California?
Northern, even though I live in Southern, I'm a NorCal. That's where I'm meant to be, in a tie-dye, sitting up there.
Awesome.
Dodgers, Lakers, or Rams?
I'm gonna have to go Lakers.
Okay.
Tough over Dodgers, but Lakers. Certainly not Rams. I was a Raider guy.
I thought for sure you said Lakers, right? I thought for sure you're gonna say Dodgers. I mean,
I love the Dodgers, but the Showtime Lakers were just some of the greatest moments of my life.
Let's see. Best to work with, actors or athletes?
Athletes.
Nice.
Longboard or fish?
Oh, well, I'm going to go longboard right now because I'm off fishes. I feel like they're limiting. I'll take a longboard these days, but I'd take another shortboard besides a fish.
All right. I just making one up off the top of my head here.
Yeah.
Al Merrick or Chris Christensen?
Oh,
I don't want to get you in trouble or something.
I'm going to take a Christensen just because I like the kind of the spirit of his shit. I like the era he reminisces.
Okay.
Nice.
I'm a single fin guy.
That was my next question. Yeah. What's your fin setup?
I prefer a single fin, when I can get away with it.
All right. And then how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah.
Or hear just hear what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm trying to. On Instagram, the Malloys is a good one for our work stuff, and then our website, I think it's the Malloy Brothers, is probably the best thing. I definitely get all our current work up there, and just kind of share the good stuff, and then whatever. I think just sometimes commercials just hit long before you can post them, so maybe just be on the lookout. We have a Dream Team series coming out on the kind of Olympic Dream Team, and that's a 5-hour series that I'm excited about.
Oh, wow.
That we did kind of at the same time as the Biggie film.
That's sick.
So cool.
Yeah, it's good. It'll be fun for sure. I'm excited. I got to hang with Magic for a whole day at Dodger Stadium, so that was cool. Yeah.
Wow. So cool.
Yeah.
Emmett, thank you so much, man. This was awesome.
Thank you, guys. Garrett, I'll talk to you soon, bud.
All right, Em. Have a great day. Dude. Say hey to the fam. Love you, brother. Peace.
Love you too.
Thanks for listening to the Digital Transformationists podcast brought to you by Percipio Consulting. Percipio Consulting provides flexible, scalable, expert-level IT and business solutions to enhance productivity and decrease cost. Check out our other episodes, access show notes and links, and listen to some great bonus content on our website at percipio.com. Like what you heard? Subscribe, rate, and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. And tell a friend. We love making new friends. I'm executive producer Katie Thomas. Victor Vargas is our lead engineer. Alejandro Caballero is our editor. Rodrigo Martinez and Stephanie Harrison are our writers. If you want to find out how we can help you with your organization's digital transformation, or if you just want to find out more about digital transformation, send us an email at contact@percipio.com. Thanks for tuning in.